This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where we discuss law practice management, marketing, and new technologies to grow your law firm. Here's your host, Lee Rosen.
What's your key performance indicator? Your KPI, your key performance indicator, is your North Star. It's the guiding light that helps you focus your energy, make decisions, and align your team. It's the number one number. It matters more than all of the other financial information you have about your practice. To tell you the truth, I love the abbreviation KPI, and I love to work it into conversations because when I use it, it makes me sound like I know more than I actually do about business stuff. Using KPI in a sentence makes me sound smart. That's also true of the acronym EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Sadly, EBITDA confuses me. I only use that acronym when I'm really desperate to seem smart. But thankfully, I have clarity around KPIs. I know what they are and how to use them in our practices. Now, I will tell you that I use the term KPI a little differently than some others, so I will in just a moment define the way I use it specifically for you. If you make your business decisions based on your gut, instead of on business numbers, instead of based on data, well, you're in pretty good company because most lawyers make their business decisions based on how they feel. They are more often driven by emotion than they are by data. When things get slow, they invest more in marketing. When things get busy, they stop taking new cases. They usually make these decisions without consulting their financial information, and that is typically because they don't have clear, helpful financial reports on which they can rely. And obviously, not having financial data for your business is a mistake. You should have the data that you require to answer the questions that come into your mind about your business. Why did you make $50,000 in January but only $10,000 in February? You deserve to know what's going on in your business, and being able to answer your own questions and basing those answers on data gives you the information you need in order to make intelligent decisions about what to do next. The data gives you the answers you need so that you can do the right thing as you go forward. Now, some lawyers rely on overly complicated profit and loss statements or balance sheets, or even worse, they agonize over other raw numbers like how many potential clients called or how many new clients visited the office. And they try to distill out of these piles of financial information answers to their questions. But the reality is that we get much more value out of our data when it's digested and distilled into something useful. That's why turning data into an understandable key performance indicator can be incredibly powerful. It gives you insight. It tells you which way to go and in what direction to proceed. You need to figure out which numbers matter and which numbers don't, and you need to be able to tell at a glance, very quickly and easily, what is happening in your law firm. You need to know your key performance indicator like you know your phone number. Then you need to know and learn how to push that number. that focus on that key number, that key performance indicator, will dramatically move you towards success. Now, I don't know your KPI, nor do I know how to push it forward. If you don't know it, then you're not going to be successful. It's as simple as that. So let's figure out your KPI. Join me as we go on a little adventure and hunt for the KPI that works for your business. Many numbers are important to a business. In fact, I'm a big fan of using dashboards, simple dashboards, to keep you wired into the health of your business in real time. You ought to be able to watch as your business ebbs and flows. Your dashboard should reveal your business data as easily and naturally as the dashboard in your car. One quick glance should answer your questions so that you can assess instantly the health of the business. Why are profits down? Is it a revenue problem or an expense problem? One click should provide the answer. If it's a revenue issue, what's causing it? The volume of new business or the productivity of your team? Again, one click. Your dashboard should display trends over 12 months so you can see objectively whether this moment is better or worse than the previous moments. The more information you can access from your dashboard, the easier it becomes to drive your business. So to that end, your dashboard should include information related to revenue and expenses and client satisfaction and cash and debt and number of phone calls coming in and cases and consult numbers, marketing touches, receivables, payables, revenues per employee, average fees per client, marketing expenses per client. I could go on about different numbers you could incorporate into your graphs. In fact, you can learn more about dashboards and download a model dashboard if you sign up for the Rosen's Rules course at rosensrules.com. You can use what you learn to track every element of your business, and of course, all of these numbers matter, but they matter far less than your key. Remember that word, key performance indicator. When your KPI is in good order, your other indicators, all these things you can measure, tend to fall in line. When your KPI underperforms, the rest of your fancy graphs also tend to turn in the wrong direction. Now let's talk about the way that I think about the key performance indicator, the KPI. There is really one key KPI. Call me literal, but the key in key performance indicator means that one stands out more than the other. It's key. Maybe there's room for two KPIs, but in my simple mind, key implies a very short list of performance indicators. Not everyone sees it that way. If you Google law firm key performance indicators, you'll find plenty of different business indicators to measure. Pick and choose the important ones that will give you a reliable indication of your business's performance. But I define KPIs as the few indicators that drive the business. In my mind, there should be one, maybe two, worst case, 3 KPIs. I'm a simple guy, and one KPI is good enough for me. So your KPI, while there are lots of numbers you can track, your KPI should be the one number out of all of your data that makes the most difference. Look for a number that measures something early in the process of dealing with your finances. Look for something that's out there before revenue, before the initial consultation, before the phone call to the office, before the website visit. It should be something, this KPI, that drives business to you and therefore drives the bottom line. A lot of businesses use lagging indicators, but you should use a leading indicator as your key performance indicator. Profit, let's use that as an example. Profit tells you how things went, not how things will go. Profit is a lagging indicator that tells you the outcome after the game is nearly over. When you search for your KPI, look for a leader. You want an indicator that tells you how business will do in the future. If you can find this number, you can use it to anticipate the future, to drive the future, and therefore to improve the likelihood of success. So the KPI is the number that causes your business to succeed. It's got to be something that's measurable. It must be something you can change. It should be something that impacts your lesser indicators, like all the indicators I mentioned earlier. It's almost always something that measures the likelihood of generating new business. It very often relates to marketing. Finding this leading KPI, this number that is out in front of the business, is an evolutionary process. It takes time. It takes experimentation while you look for correlation. It takes thought, and it takes careful attention to your data. As you evaluate a potential KPI, you'll find yourself moving backwards in time. You'll look for activities and results that impact the potential KPI, and you'll discover that there's a deeper number that's actually a stronger indicator. This really is a discovery process, so your KPI will not come automatically. It will evolve over time, and the number itself, the thing you measure, is likely to evolve as the business changes. As the business becomes more sophisticated, the KPI may move further out into the future. In part, probably in large part, that's because you get smarter and you start to see the business more clearly. You figure out which number and which behaviors really drive the business. For example, it's common for a new business to start with revenue as their KPI. That's a typical reaction when we start hunting for this with a very new business. Then they learn that they can impact revenue with something more focused, like marketing expenditures. So that becomes a KPI. Then they decide that they can get more specific about their marketing expense. So KPI becomes advertising spending. Then they take a step further and they create a formula to calculate advertising reach and frequency. The result of this formula becomes their unique KPI. Each step along the way comes as a result of experimentation and careful attention to the numbers and to the graphs that are the result of those numbers. And as you figure it out, as you discover the better and better and better KPI for your business, you now know the secret to growth of your business. Once you know your KPI, you know the lever to manipulate. You know exactly what you need to do to cause the business to go in the direction you want it to go. You'll have a guiding indicator that keeps you on track. You know that driving that indicator will cause the rest of the business to move in the right direction. Now, you'll face new challenges as you move forward with your KPI, like managing the people and the technology that are required to make that number move. But knowing the KPI allows you to scale up. Your KPI will probably move based on a number of activities. For instance, if you decide that your KPI is the Net Promoter Score for your business, you'll quickly learn which levers to push to change it, what to do to drive it up or to let it drift down. You'll be in a very good position once you identify the indicator to experiment with inputs. Once you know which KPI is most important, you can build your business around that number. The KPI becomes the focus. It becomes the topic at meetings and planning sessions, and it clarifies your vision. You know to start making decisions around the KPI rather than around emotion. That's a lot to take in. But to summarize, what I'm saying is experiment and find your KPI. Find that key performance indicator for your business, and then build and streamline everything that goes on in the business so that you impact that KPI. Let me give you some examples. When I started practicing law, my personal KPI was the amount of cash in my checking account. As a law firm associate, I learned pretty quickly that certain behaviors caused my personal bank balance to increase. I could work on certain projects, align myself with certain partners, engage in particular marketing activities, and kiss certain asses, and that would generate more income for me, myself, and each of these activities were measurable, and they would drive up my personal bank account balance. When I left the firm where I was an associate to go out on my own, my KPI went through a similar evolutionary process. At first, when I started practicing for myself, I saw only profit. And then I learned how profit connects to revenue. And then I discovered the not insignificant impact of expenses. Eventually, I connected all of those dots. I realized that marketing activities were measurable and that they were key indicators for my firm. More marketing usually created more revenue. I measured our marketing expenditures, believing that that was our KPI. But then I realized that more marketing didn't always create more profit. I needed a more targeted KPI. So I experimented and measured everything I could. I happened to have a college professor for a neighbor who did surveys as a side business, and he agreed to survey our clients. Those surveys evolved into a Net Promoter Score, and over time, I came to realize that the Net Promoter Score was a leading indicator for our business. Previously, I had assumed that marketing expenditures drove success, but marketing a business with poor service really wasn't helpful. I had to maintain service quality measurable by the Net Promoter Score surveys in order for the marketing expenditures to be effective. I learned that driving up the Net Promoter Score drove up referrals and calls and consults and client count. Through this evolutionary process, I learned to focus on client satisfaction instead of on marketing. So my real KPI was quite different from my original assumed KPI. That revelation allowed us to grow faster with a lower investment in marketing and a higher overall margin. Let me give you another example. Let's take a look at another law firm with which I'm familiar. This firm also went through an evolutionary process to discover their KPI. Their KPI is more fun than mine. Their KPI is number of parties. This law firm had social events for prospective and existing referral sources. More parties led to more lunch and coffee dates for the business development associates, which resulted in more revenue, which allowed more profit. For this firm, more parties means more profit. So they built the firm around driving up their unique KPI. When this firm makes plans for the coming year, they plan parties. When they have firm meetings, they talk about parties. When they schedule vacations, they arrange them around parties. When a vendor comes in hawking ad space or leads or other marketing opportunities, the firm is only interested if those activities create more parties. Will their KPI change down the road? Probably, but they'll keep learning and growing as they experiment. Knowing your KPI makes it dramatically easier to make decisions day by day. It gives you the focus to make smarter decisions. It helps you see your progress and know that you're building a secure future for the law firm. Third example about KPIs. As we expand the Rosen Institute, we recognize the importance of understanding the KPI for this new business. We experiment and focus the business on things the numbers reveal as important. At this point, it appears that the key driver for the business is email signups for the Friday File emails. As the email list grows, so does our profit. Of course, we experiment and we test to see if that indicator is as predictive as we believe, and we'll continue to look further out into the pipeline to see if there's a better leading indicator to use as our KPI. Slowly but surely, we're building this business around increasing email signups. You've probably noticed our more aggressive approach to collecting signups. We're also doing more to promote email signups in a variety of other media, and we'll measure each effort against our KPI to gauge effectiveness. We're focused on our KPI. As it improves, revenue and profit improve as well. So you need to begin experimenting and finding your KPI. I hope that you're starting to see how different activities drive your bottom line and to see the importance of focusing on the numbers instead of on your emotions. Your KPI it must be your North Star. It illuminates your decisions. It aligns your team around a mission, and it keeps everybody in your organization focused on the right factors to build the business. Your KPI isn't always obvious, but it's central to your success. Experiment and measure until you figure out the KPI that makes your business grow. Your KPI should be the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning. It should dictate and drive what you and your team do every day. You should use it to drive your business in the right direction. It's time now for you to figure out your key performance indicator. Until next time, I'm Lee Rosen.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. For more information on how you can take your law practice to the next level, visit roseninstitute.com. You can also subscribe on iTunes. Follow Lee Rosen on Twitter at Lee Rosen